Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Millie's Baseside Chats, where we are live streaming to bring some calm to the chaos of your PCS. Every week we bring in duty station experts and other really amazing military spouses to talk about different topics that are pieces of your life, components of your life that are affected by a PCS. As you can imagine, there are many. So we are here to try and help you figure out and navigate this process as smoothly as possible. Thank you for joining me. If you're watching this on the replay, please go in and toss in where you're watching from in the comments. We would love to welcome you to the conversation later on. Just throw in a little hashtag replay. Okay. I am really excited, as always, to be talking to you guys today. This is going to be our last Bayside Chat of 2019. Where did that go? I know. So we are actually up to our 50th guest. I should have some streamers or something flying around. So yeah. So I am bringing to you guys today an awesome military spouse. Her name is Melissa Froehlich. She is stationed at Nellis Air Force Base with her spouse. And she is a remote work pro. So I'm going to give you guys a brief little intro. She's a mom, she's an Air Force spouse, and an entrepreneur. She loves helping other military spouses start and grow their online businesses. So she's dabbling in coaching. She's got a fantastic e-course to help kind of give you, it's actually called the Remote Work Roadmap. So to give you a map, a tool to get started in remote work, if that's something that you wanted to pursue. I know it's becoming an ever more popular way of sustaining employment as military spouses, and one that I am a big fan of. But anyway, she's here to talk to us today, give her tips, give her knowledge, and also maybe we'll chat a little bit about Nellis. So hi, Melissa.
Hi. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. This is so fun. We've connected online through our group and through I think I'm in your group too.
Yeah.
Melissa does Facebook Lives all the time in her group. She is an awesome resource for her people, her tribe, and sharing tips and kind of helping other military spouses who are doing this remote work thing, this hustle. So I'm just super excited to be able to introduce her to you guys. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Melissa. What did I miss in your bio? I'm sure a lot.
No, you did a great job. So I am a military spouse, as Kelly mentioned, and my journey is kind of fun, and I'm sure that some of you can relate, but I already had a career, and a pretty awesome career as it goes, when I fell in love with this Air Force guy. So I learned about the term PCS without having any clue about anything about the military or even what PCS stood for. And he told me, hey, I am PCSing across the country. I'd love to have you come. We weren't even married yet. And I was like, you know what? This is amazing. This is the guy I want to be with, and I can find a job anywhere. So I PCSed with him from Boise, Idaho to North Carolina. And you know what? I struggled big time to find a job, even though I had heaps of experience and lots of great connections. So when people found out that I was associated with the military, that meant moving. I didn't even realize any of this, right? And then also we lived really rural, and it was a long way to get into the city. So all of these things, I quickly realized that if I was going to continue to have my professional identity, I had to figure something out that was location independent. So that's a little bit about like my background, and that was before I was a mom. So thankfully I had the ability to do some research and to hustle and try and figure out how could I do something that I would be proud of and that I can contribute to my family. And so that's been quite the journey. Let's see, I've been a military spouse now. We got married, so that's the good news. It all worked out. It was worth all the effort.
And still married. We talked about that last week. Like, it's still married. It's
we
fine.
are. It's so funny. So 4 years. So essentially, I'm going on my 4th year of this remote work journey, and it's just been crazy where it's taken me, and I'm so thankful, and I love sharing tips and ideas with other spouses who are like, I want to do that. I want to create something that's sustainable no matter where we go.
I think a lot of people have that moment where they move and they think, oh, well, I'm qualified. I have this much experience. I have education in my pocket, whatever, good resume, whatever. And it's usually that first or second PCS that the reality starts to sink in, like, oh, this is something that I didn't realize I was going to have to figure out how to navigate. You've got employers potentially telling you you're a liability because you're going to move, or
right.
We're not set up to support you being in a remote location or teleworking. That's maybe you're used to doing that in one place, and that's not really something that they're accustomed to deal with or equipped to really understand what they're missing by not offering those opportunities. So
right.
It's crazy. So what did you start out doing? How did you where did you land when you first realized, well, what could I do from home? Like, what was that process like?
Right. So I remember literally Googling, right? Because Google is our friend for all the things, and like reputable online jobs, because I'd heard about working online, but it was usually like secret shoppers or,
Mm-hmm.
coupon type. And I'm like, okay, what real jobs, quote unquote, could I do online? And so one that I kept stumbling across was virtual assistant. And in my corporate job, I had worked as a chief of staff for a really, really big technology company. And so I had a lot of the same skills, right? And so I'm like, well, I could do this. And so that's ultimately what I decided on. And I started working with an agency, and that's where I got my feet wet. And I'm telling you, I started at the bottom, like way at the bottom. And that's okay, because I was like, I'm going to learn how to do this and I'm going to grow. And I also, I have a teaching background. I'm licensed to teach in 4 different states. So that was I'm the typical mill spouse, like most all of you, where I do all the things. And so I was like, well, I can teach, right? Well, that was easier said than done as well. So like I had a lot of things that weren't working in my favor that really drove me to having to figure out this remote work world. And so I did a little bit of online teaching, but even that was a struggle to find a reputable company that paid well and that was going to, pay enough, that I was going to get enough work. So for a long time, I did administrative assistant VA stuff, and I did some teaching. And so that's ultimately landed me. I don't teach anymore in the traditional sense. I do coaching now, but I work as a business strategist. So I started with that VA work and then just kind of got more clear on the types of clients I wanted to work with and the services I wanted to provide. So I've gotten back to that level of work that I was doing in corporate, but now I do it online with entrepreneurs. So it's pretty fun. It definitely is great.
It's so cool. Yeah. And I love that you're able to grow into that, because I mean, when you're working on your own, no matter what you're doing, there's so much agency that you have to have with your own self, with your own boundaries, your own like systems, right? That you're not given in like that you would in a traditional office environment. So I feel like that does enable like this expansive growth, like all of a sudden out of nowhere. So now here you are as an entrepreneur because you found your niche, you found the thing for you that's really good. That's great. So, okay. Well, so you mentioned it a second ago, and I'd love to spend some time here. Let's talk about legitimate opportunities. Okay. And we're gonna tiptoe, you guys, because we're not trying to like offend, exclude. And if you guys have like, I don't want to say fallen for, but maybe pursued an opportunity that turned out to be disappointing. Let's put it that way. It's a very real lure, right? So we're all so desperate for work or for an opportunity, someone just to give us a chance, to pay us, but to do our work and to shine, but maybe they're willing to take a little more advantage of our situation, our circumstances. So what are some things to be wary of? And then we'll give some tips on like how to pursue things that are legit.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I learn a new one every week, but it kind of comes down to the old adage, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. So I see a lot, especially in the virtual assistant groups, of these job opportunities. And sadly, a lot of them come from LinkedIn, believe it or not, where it's like, hey, we have this great opportunity. We would love to give you a job as a virtual assistant, and we're going to pay you $40,000 a year, and you're going to work 5 hours a week. And so that's, starting to have red flags right there. Like, wow, that's pretty great for not very much effort. And then if they're wanting to interview you on Google Hangouts and then like immediately offer you a job, like that's a really tried and true scam that goes on right now. So be wary of Google Hangouts. Most people I'm not saying Google Hangouts is never going to be a legitimate interview source, but like you're going to have some email back and forth. Do your research. That's how you're going to protect yourself. The person who's emailing you, the HR person, look them up on LinkedIn. Google them, do all the things, and then utilize your networking groups. Like my group, the MilSpouse Remote Work Collective, come on there and say, hey, have you ever heard of this company? Does anyone know about this? Like, don't be scared to ask questions. Like, that's the biggest thing. And just the email address, that's another giveaway. Like, hover over the email address, and if it's coming from like AOL, that nobody uses
Stop
AOL anymore,
it.
right? Or if it's a legitimate like
Yeah.
firm,
It's not a
but
Gmail.
it's a
Yeah.
right, if it's a Gmail account, but it's not their business name, those are also things to be like a little bit trepidatious about. So just go with your gut. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing, but there are sadly, or if they're asking you to buy any equipment up front, like
Right.
run.
Right.
Nobody's going to ask you to do that.
Right.
Nobody. Don't give
Yeah.
your bank account information. Like those are big ones, but they happen all the time.
That's a bazillion years ago. I fell for this. It turned out to be kind of a sales job, but I remember thinking like, wow, this is a lot of like cheerleading. Like it was almost like timeshare. You know, the interview was very like, you're going to love this company. We can't wait for you to join us, instead of like, hey, we're actually vetting you because we want to know what's in your brain, not
Right.
getting you on board for this thing. So yeah, y'all trust your gut. And it's so hard because you think you've found an opportunity and you hear all these people talk about awesome remote employment, and then coming across something that's disappointing is tough. But yeah, lean on your networks, y'all. That's what we're known for. We have insane networks, and probably somebody has either like already poked around at this thing and raised a red flag, and you can skip a little time and heartache.
Absolutely. The other thing, like the other side of that I want to throw out there is remote work. You know, don't necessarily think that because a job pays less than what you're expecting that it's not legitimate. A lot of remote opportunities, the pay is less than what you would experience in the 9 to 5. And I think that's something that's important to talk about because you have to look at the other side of it.
Right.
You're not commuting to an office. And so for many of us, that's huge in terms of childcare, in terms of, you know, wear and tear on the vehicle. So what you may have been getting as an administrative assistant in person, let's say that it was $18 an hour, you may find that same entry level job for like 14 or 12 US dollars to start out. And a lot of them will have like a probationary time period where it's training. So that's normal stuff. So don't just immediately assume like this isn't legit because the pay is less than what I'm used to in the real world. Like that's just kind of the name of the game that happens out there.
Yeah, and there's also, I mean, you got to get your legs. Like, it's working from home is not just working from home. It's so incredibly different. And yeah, let's talk about how is it different? Is it pros and cons? Maybe is it hard? I think a lot of people fantasize about it and kind of romanticize, like, oh, I work from home, and they're like, you know, working on the beach, and yeah, that could happen. But
yeah,
what does the reality look like for you, Melissa?
You know, I've never had to be more structured in my life and better with boundaries than when I work from home. I mean, and that's true. And I'm going to throw my husband under the bus a little bit here. You know, he's amazing. He's just incredible at what he does, but he could never do what I do because he would not be able to stay accountable to like very set time frames and time blocking, and he would be distracted all the time. And I work with so many people who that's their big struggle. Like, I can't stay on task. I don't seem to be efficient with the work that I need to get done. And because you're not accountable to someone else's schedule in terms of you have to be at the office at a certain time, like it's easy to get lax. So what I do is I set myself office hours, and those are very clearly lined out in my contracts. I'm at my office, meaning at this desk by 8 o'clock every day, and I'm done by 2 o'clock. And that means I get my butt out of this chair, because otherwise I can easily work till 5 o'clock, right? That's not why I'm doing this job. A big part of why I'm doing this is so that I can have that time with my family and I can shut off and I can be mom. But it's about being really true to like, what are you capable of delivering? How much time can you really give? So don't bite off more than you can chew and say, I can do this and I can work for this person. Like, be honest with yourself. How much childcare do you have available if you're a mom? Like, are you confined to only working during nap time? For me, I have a nanny. That's how I'm able to do this and run this big business, because she's my number one employee. I couldn't do it without her. And that's, part of the expense that I budget into what I do. But also I'm really strict with myself, and I let my clients know also, here's when you can expect to hear from me. So boundaries are what is going to make you successful in this role. And if you're somebody who's not great with boundaries, but you want to work remotely, get yourself an accountability person. That's where you can lean on your tribe, throw it out in a group like, hey, I'm just starting my remote work journey. I'm not great at sticking to, a schedule and being efficient with my time. I need help. there's going to be other people who feel you and they want to support you in that regard. So that's some free advice to really just leverage what's available to you.
You've got outsourcing. So you're outsourcing your childcare, which you have to.
Yeah.
You have to. You guys, I can't say it enough. Like, work from home does not mean you don't have to pay for childcare.
No.
Not if you're going to do this seriously. Okay. So also, so boundaries are crucial for like so many, whether you're a freelancer, whether you're a W-2, or whether you are, you know, I don't know, however other, let's see, freelancing, W-2, creative client, if you're working directly, you know, with one client, or maybe you're working with like a VA firm, you have several clients. I know that when I did this kind of work as a VA, my first like hard lesson was boundaries with my clients. Because they think because of technology and because you're remote and because you're accessible just with a cell phone that they can send you a request and then bam, you're supposed to turn around and do it. Like you have to learn really quickly how to communicate those boundaries too in a way that, you know, preserves a relationship with your employer or your client. Or
totally.
But you have to, otherwise what happens is you get burned out. You're always you're tethered, right? Like, and you are like, I hate this job. Like I'm never off. So that it's good for your own mental health. It's better. It trains your clients or your boss or whoever, you know, this is what's acceptable. Like you wouldn't come to my house and ask me to do this thing. If you walked past my office in a building, you might poke your head in and ask for whatever task. But if I'm at home, there needs to be some parameters, you know, within which we operate. So,
yep, absolutely. And that's as simple as acknowledging the request, right? Yep. Within a timely, if they're emailing you at 8:00 at night, do not respond, right? Wait till the next morning, acknowledge them right away. Say, hey, I saw this, I'll get back, or, you know, I'll be able to deliver this to you in 24 hours or whatever it is. That give them expectations, let them know that you've seen it and you're on it, but that does not, just because they sent you something, that does not become the immediate priority. So that's a big thing in itself is deciphering between what is truly an emergency and what isn't, because you'll find yourself with clients in all regards, whether you're a graphic designer or a virtual assistant, like people have emergencies and you're like, actually, this is not an emergency. So but it's figuring out how to tactfully say that in order to preserve your I don't know, just overwhelm, essentially. Like you have to be able to say, hey, I've got it, I'll get to it, but
I'm on it. Acknowledged, heard, and I will turn it around in a reasonable time.
Totally.
Okay, so if someone's listening and they're like, okay, I'm about to PCS and I'm gonna have to quit my job, or maybe I want to start working, what are some of your best tips as far as like looking for remote opportunities? Like what would you tell people, like where to start?
So I think the biggest thing is if you're in a position and there's any chance that you can pitch it to that employer to spin it as a remote work opportunity, and maybe it's not the exact same thing that you've always been doing, maybe it's on a fractional basis, like try that. I mean, you have nothing to lose. The worst thing that they're going to say is no. And if you're not sure how to do that, again, go to the groups, go ask how have people successfully done that. I will say that week after week, I'm seeing more success stories. More employers are starting to come on board and realize like, hey, I'd rather keep this person who's doing an amazing job in some capacity. And I'm hearing that other people are able to do this. How can I do it? And so it's showing up and saying, hey, I love what I'm doing for you. I'd like to keep doing it. Here are some ways that we can make that work. Like you want to come with all the answers and the solution. So try that first before you panic and say, I'm going to have to go find something else.
And y'all, let me just jump in. Hold on, Melissa. So there are also a ton of resources right now, like hiring military spouses, retaining military spouses.
Yes.
It's like it's a movement right now. Like it is there. You have some big, huge allies at your back. You have research, you have documentation from folks like Hiring Our Heroes that are doing tremendous work in this space on educating employers on how to attract us and keep us, and providing remote opportunities. Also understanding, like we were talking about earlier with pay scales, like, you know, like
totally.
Wrap that into your negotiation. Like, hey, I'm moving. I want to keep this job. Here's what I propose we do. You know, like maybe they're going to have to bring somebody in to be in-house to cover some aspect of your job. Okay, fine. But like, so say, okay, I'll even help you find that person. But here's how my position, this is what it would look like if you transferred it to a remote position. And here's what I propose we do as far as pay, to offset or accommodate for the fact that I'm not coming to the office. Those are all conversations that can be had. So you got to start being as creative with this situation, your employment, as you are with your PCS, and as you are with finding housing, and as you are with everything else, because we know that's what we're good at. So figure out, think around it, and then hit people up that have already done it successfully. Great.
Totally. And come with the solution. Like, do your research ahead of time. So don't make them even have to think about it. Like, this is a no-brainer. And again, the worst thing they're going to say is no, but guess what? You've already done a whole bunch of research. And so you're going to be even more prepared next time. Yeah. Then beyond that, it's really about like, what do you love doing? What do you already have skill sets around, and like finding the marriage of those two things, right? If you're just starting to explore the idea of remote work, like what is it that you could do right now based on the skills that you have and what you like doing, and then trying to figure out like what jobs exist out there. So some of the super popular ones, we talked about a bunch, virtual assistant. Some other terms that go along with that are, remote executive assistant or online business manager, then social media manager, copywriting, blog writer. Those are just some of the super like hot buzzword ones, even community manager. So people who are online coaches or have courses, they have these online communities, whether it's in some type of a learning management system, or if it's Facebook alone, but being able to come in there and serve as the person who keeps their communities really engaged and running seamlessly, so it's a form of administrative support, but that's a really popular thing right now. Or just being the person who is the client experience manager. So whether that's the whole onboarding for when they have a new client, whether they're a coach or whether they are providing graphic design services or whatever it might be, making sure that whole customer journey is taken care of. And so that may be some administrative things, but that may be some client liaison things. So it's getting really creative. So maybe you are already working in a specific industry, like you're working with financial advisors, or maybe you're property management and real estate, like thinking, how can I support these people in the online space? Because everybody's in the online space in some form today, right? And so whether that's in a marketing aspect or a behind the scenes operations aspect. So getting creative and asking questions. And again, if you're totally not sure where to start, you go to the communities and you say, hey, I'd really like to work online. I work with real estate agents right now in my 9-to-5. I'd like to bring that into a remote capacity. Who else works with real estate agents? Can you tell me some of the things you do to support them? Those questions happen all the time, and you're going to get like gold advice to start the wheels turning of like, what can you do? And then you start looking for those types of jobs out there.
That's fantastic. And so just since that was an awesome segue for me to be able to do a little plug, our scouts are actually dabbling in some real estate agent assistant type tasks. So those could be location based, or those could also be virtual. So we have some really strong writers that are scouts. They have their own blogs or whatnot. And they're also available to be a scout to, if you guys don't know what scouts are, they are military spouses who are 1099s with us, and they're available for other military families to hire if they need help with recon on a house, right? So let's say you're moving somewhere and you can't go look at the property. You're going to have to sign sight unseen. But for all the reasons that makes you a little queasy, you could have a scout go and do a FaceTime tour just to make sure.
Love that.
Right? That the listings match the photos and that it's legit. There's an actual house there. I mean, we could go on and on. Also, they've been helping military property managers. They're not property managers. They're not real estate agents. They are just there to provide fact-finding and resources for people to make decisions, right? So they're helping people who are self-managing properties do tasks, but then we've also had a ton of interest from real estate agents. Hey, I need somebody to run signs to my house or pick up marketing materials or little things like that. And they're also getting some interest with social media support and or, listing copies, things like that. So I love, what is your thing? What is your thing that you're passionate about? Like, so our scouts love the realm of like real estate, right? They're not agents. They're not pursuing being an agent. They're not, trying to hold down licenses or transport licenses and all that stuff. They just want to contribute, and they really like houses, right? So they're able to step in and offer to whatever capacity virtual tasks that can bring some income to them. And also, it's great to use your skills. So yeah, find your industry, figure out ways that you can get in there. Oh my God, there's so much you could do on the internet. The internet is amazing.
And if you don't know what your thing is, yeah, like do all the things
Do
when you're
all
starting
the
out.
things,
Like
yeah.
that's what I did as
Yep.
a VA at first. I worked with all the people because that's how you're going to learn. Like, I don't want to do that anymore,
Yeah.
but I want to do more of this. So do it. Like,
Oh my
no
God, that's
task
so
is too
true.
small. Don't think of things always in terms of pay. It's the experience. Like, even if it's a, $100 paycheck that you're going to get, like you may have just gotten some huge clarity that's going to change the whole path you're going to go. So say yes, say lots of yeses in the beginning.
I love that. Who was your craziest client? Like, what is the like most off the wall industry that you've ever worked for with?
Oh, definitely I love coaches and I work with a lot of coaches, but this one guy, and he still to this day, I mean, the craziest man that just couldn't, I couldn't get a word in edgewise. I remember like one of my first calls with him and he talked for 2 hours straight. And this is when I had bad boundaries because I said yes to taking a call with him at like 5:30 at night. And so we were on till almost 8 o'clock. And I still was like, I have no idea what you want from me. Like, you're just talking. Like, he just wanted a therapist is what it came down to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
But it wasn't fun. So,
that's a good point. The internet and working remotely is pretty isolating. So you might encounter people who want a team because they want a team and they're maybe a little lonely. So you've got to navigate that. You've also got to be willing to understand that you're going to be working online. It can be isolating. Work in things that feed you throughout your day or throughout your week. If you need to go work at a coffee shop one day, I wouldn't make that my norm. But if you need the stimulation for, creativity or just social aspects of getting out and talking with grownups, then do that. Be real with yourself.
So
you're not getting water cooler banter online, really. I mean,
right.
That's crazy. So when I was a VA, I had a client I had one who was in New York selling a beer subscription box, like, curated. That was fun. So I learned all about shipping alcohol to all the 50 states. Apparently it's not that easy. I was doing real estate with him. Like, he was trying to open a tap room. So I had to research all these places in Brooklyn. I even helped him find his engagement ring for his fiance. So I was shopping with jewelers on the phone, like some of the coolest stuff that you can do online. I didn't have to be there for any of that, but I was able to help him with these really huge moments in his life. So it's just fun. And wow, what a way to meet the awesomest people,
So cool. Yes. So more often than not, the most amazing people, like the most, but of course you got like the craziest ones too. So
I fired a couple of people.
You get good at firing people, but you have to do all the things first before you can fire them because you don't know who to fire until you get a lot under your belt. So
okay, so let's move on. What are some other things to be aware of? Let's say we're just getting started in our online careers. What are some things to be cautious of? I know we had talked earlier about maybe joining teams or not joining teams. Like, what are some considerations to kind of tuck away for those getting started?
So for a lot of people that are just getting started, it's the how-to that's the big thing. And some people aren't sure if they want to be a freelancer and be their own boss, or they want to work for someone else because they maybe hate sales and they don't like the idea of going out and curating clients. So agencies or working for a company is a big draw for some people. And I worked for a couple of agencies in my early days and I learned a lot from them. And there's a lot of pros to working with an agency, but there are some things that you really need to be aware of. And I wish that somebody had spelled this out for me in the beginning because it would have been very helpful. Make sure that you understand the contract that you're signing, even as an independent contractor. So let's take a scenario that is very real and that happens a lot. So say that you're like, I want to be a virtual assistant. I have this one little client right now and I'm doing just 5 hours a week for them or something like that. And I'm having trouble getting more clients. So I'm going to go ahead and work for this agency also as an independent contractor. So you're a 1099 here and you're a 1099 for this agency. You need to pay attention to that contract that you're signing with the agency because there are agencies out there, plenty of them, that have you sign a non-compete. And that non-compete can be very, very specific geographically, or it can be industry specific. So I have seen personally lots of non-competes this year alone that say that if you terminate your work engagement with us voluntarily or involuntarily, you cannot work in the virtual space for 2 years. Like, that's crazy, you guys. That makes you essentially unemployable, right? Now, is that enforceable? If it's not, that's a whole nother discussion. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. But I will tell you, I would not sign that. that language exists all of the time. So be very clear with the agency to say like, hey, I also like am a freelancer, an independent contractor. I have my own clients. In no way, shape, or form are you going to be poaching their clients. Of course, that's like bad business, right? That's not what I'm trying to talk about. I'm trying to talk about making sure that if you get in a relationship with an agency and you're like, you know what, this just isn't a good fit for me, that you can leave freely instead of then giving up your rights to continue to grow your business. So that's what you need to be very, very careful of. And it really exists a lot more than I would like to see. So I want to make sure that you are being diligent and really understanding contracts before you sign them. I was in positions many times where I'm like, I just want the work, I'm going to sign this, and realizing later what I had accepted, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like, really? People want to keep me from what? This doesn't make any sense. So anyway, that's one of my I talk to people about that a lot. And again, this could be just as easy as negotiating that with the person that you're signing the contract with, or maybe you need to get, some counsel to look it over. That's your call, but it's just being aware that exists.
Yeah, that's a great point, because you definitely don't want to like shackle yourself or limit your opportunities. Also, I would be really transparent too, and I think you're hitting this. If your clients, maybe you already have some clients that people that you're working with or for, you can say like, these are my clients, these are the industries they're in, and you personally should not probably take on clients that are in competing industries. Yeah. That I think is totally fair and fine to ask. And you should be able to pick up, you're going to know these things, right? You guys, like if you're working for this t-shirt company and you pick up another client, like you're not going to want to work for both of them. That's probably not cool. Right. So you need to be transparent about that. But be careful about limiting you as a person with future work opportunities. And there's enough out there that you don't have to, I think is what we're getting at, right?
Yeah. Like there are some really amazing companies as well. And feel free. I mean, you can reach out and say like, and that happens in my group all the time. Hey, has anyone heard of this company? Right. Would you mind sharing your experiences with working with them? You'll quickly figure out who the good ones are and who is kind of like a little bit scary by just, doing some surveying in communities that you trust. So
there's also Glassdoor, depending on how big the organization is you're talking about or looking at. Listen, y'all, there are some huge corporate brands that hire tons of remote employees for all sorts of things, from customer service to, all the way up the chain, right? It's awesome these days. This is not how I
Williams, Sonoma, Wayfair, Amazon. Like I see them all the time. It's amazing. Microsoft, or if it's just a brand that you like, go there and see what types of opportunities that they're hiring for. I mean, don't just rely on, Monster and Indeed. Like go hunt the people out that you might want to work for and see what's posted.
Oh, quick. So Google now also on their job search function out, like they have a job search portal. You can check the box for remote opportunity. And they did that just for us, y'all. They did that for military spouses because they know how important remote opportunities are for us. So check that out when you're doing your search, and that should help push some of the more valid options to the top of the pile. Maybe. I don't know. Whoever's paying for the ads. I want to acknowledge Jess. Hey, Jess. She's watching in our group. So we're doing a watch party in the Moving the Millie Way group. So I'm seeing a ton of people chime in over there. So if you're not seeing comments underneath me, I'm not making it up. They're just over in our group. Come hang out in the group, you guys. So Jess is our awesome kind of resident, amazing freelance team. She's the head of that. She's also our director of content. And she brought up earlier, says, don't forget to pay a chunk of your don't forget you pay a chunk of your taxes. So don't undervalue your rate. So especially if you're freelancing, right? Well, predominantly if you're freelancing, you need to make sure that you're accounting for all of your overhead to include the taxes that you have to turn around and file with them, because you're not getting that with a W-2. So be sure that you're taking that into account. I see Jen, Pascal. Hey, Jen. I see Jess agreed with us on the non-competes. Be on the lookout for those, you guys. Who else is watching us? Galo. Hey, Galo. Kristen. Hey, Crystal. Hey, you guys. Thanks for joining us. If you have questions or want to chime in with anything, please feel free to. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Okay, cool. So what am I forgetting to ask you? Let's talk about the roadmap. I'd love to talk about your course. So what can people expect to find through your remote work roadmap?
So the course is really like the compilation of all of my journey, my stumbling points, all of that put into 5 clear steps so that people can get to success a lot faster than I got there. Like I didn't understand the power in leveraging online marketing or Facebook communities, or how to use a coach, or what an ideal client avatar was, because back to what we were talking about in the beginning, even though I had all of this corporate experience and all of these skill sets, the online world is very, very different for getting established. So my roadmap is basically designed to help you take that idea or that desire that's floating around in your head for your business idea and put it into 5 actionable steps to realize it. So breaking it down to like getting clear on who you serve, what you can deliver, and then how to do that effectively, and then get the word out. And one of my favorite things to focus on with my high-end clients is, operational systems and strategies. And so I talk about a lot of those foundational pieces in there. So making sure that you can put that product out there, but you have a way to take people's money, and that you have a way to onboard clients. I mean, these are like things that really, it's amazing, but it's overwhelming. Like which, services should I use, and what is this platform for, and what's a CRM, and just breaking that down. Like I put together this huge guide that's several hundred common terms that I wish I had known when I started out. Like that's one of the bonuses in there, and to know what is a sales funnel, for instance. So all of these terms that we're using in the digital space, and how does that apply to your business, and where to go for good resources as you continue to build out your business. So it's really take your idea, get it into action, and really get that business out there and start, to have the foundational piece to show up like a real professional, because I think that's the hard part. A lot of people have great ideas, but they're not sure how to set themselves apart from the masses and really show up as the professional that they truly are, because they don't understand what pieces to put in place to create that foundation. So that's what I'm hoping to do with your map.
Yeah, and just that alone, I mean, even just the systems alone is so huge. I mean, like when you step into a job at an office, you're given all the systems. Like someone's already figured all this out, right? Like they say, we use this and we use this, and this is how we communicate. And when you're on your own, you're either adapting to whoever you're working for or with systems, maybe if they already have them. But a lot of times, especially if you're freelancing, you've got to kind of figure that out. And y'all, there's a lot.
Yeah, that's what a lot of business owners will hire you to do, especially in the VA space, is to come on and build their systems or create those SOPs. And the best way to be effective with that is to have done it for yourself and say, hey, here's how we do this, and here's what I use, and let's get you set up.
That is so true. That is so true. Okay, tell us the name of your group. I think I have it on the screen, but talk to us about your group a little bit.
Yeah, so the MilSpouse Remote Work Collective, and I put that together earlier this year. It has grown into this fantastic community. The point of it is just to be a networking group for people interested in remote work, or if you're currently working remotely, like resources to grow your business. And that comes from me being a MilSpouse and wishing that I had known about so many amazing resources that existed out there. So it's just one of the many awesome attempts that is happening to bring resources together and share them with our MilSpouse community. I focus a lot on the freelancing entrepreneurial side in there. We have guests, and it's fun, and it's a resource-driven community, and I'm constantly learning about new things. I encourage people to come and share resources, and I've met some of my business besties in there this year. I've grown my team from the people I've met in that group. It's a lot of fun, and we just, I don't know, we really try and harness that feeling of community and sharing thoughts and ideas. And it's a safe space, and if people aren't behaving, you're out. So so know that you can come there and be protected. Like it's a sacred spot to ask questions and share ideas.
So I love it so much, because I know that was one of the things that I felt so strongly about when I first started in virtual world. Like I didn't have anybody to ask questions to. Like, I'd get this random tasks that would come across my desk, and like, hey, just do this, because my last person was able to do it, but I don't have the last person to ask, right? So I'm like, okay, and you just have to kind of always be on it. Like, I got it. Right. You have no idea what you're doing. You just say, I got it. And you can have a group or a space or a place to go and say, y'all, I need help. I don't even know where to start. Like I got this ask or this request, and I need some help figuring it out. And more than likely, people have like all of the resources you need and have done it before. So groups like that are just
Absolutely.
tremendous. I really enjoy your group. I love that you're live in there all
you.
the time. Clearly, this is a thing that I enjoy too. It's a great space. So I would encourage, I'll drop a link in there once we're done so you guys can check out that group and just kind of, listen to conversations. Please engage. Like, don't just stalk. Like, get in there and say, hey, this is what I'd like to start doing, and just see what comes of it. It's so great. I love it.
Yeah, don't be shy. That's the thing I can't say enough is like, you ask your questions. I mean, I wish that I had, and that's why we created these amazing communities, because we want to share the knowledge with everybody. So please let us know that you're out there and you're listening and you're asking questions. It helps us know that we're not just talking to each other. So.
I know, right? Sometimes I feel like I'm just like shouting into the wind and no one's listening.
Exactly.
Melissa, tell us a little teeny bit about Nellis. What do you think of Las Vegas? I'd love to hear, like, someone's got orders to go to Nellis. What do they need to know? Like, top of mind.
Oh my gosh. So Nellis is pretty fantastic. We're a really big outdoorsy family, so that's been fun for us. They're actually, we can get to a mountain within 45 minutes. There's actually skiing here. The desert is a lot colder than I thought it was going to be. Like, I have UGG boots on in the winter time. It does get deathly hot in the summer, but really, really kind of a melting pot with just all kinds of different communities here at Nellis. And so it's really fun. And living in Vegas and visiting Vegas are two very different experiences. So we still, when we have date nights, we go to the Strip and act like tourists, because Nellis is about 35 minutes away, I would say, from the Strip itself. So it's just very, very different, but it's fun. It's very dry, and I love being back on the West Coast. So for me, it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So feel free to look me up if you ever get out here. I would love to have coffee with any MilSpouse.
Listen, don't tempt me. I just keep this running list of like all of our awesome guests and people that we get to encounter in the space. Like, I'll go anywhere and have friends, I think, at this point in Vegas. Yeah, girl, I'll be there. That'd be fun.
It's pretty
cool. Okay, tell everyone where we can find you online, where your links and your website and everything. Where can we find you?
So MilSpouse Remote Work Collective is our private Facebook group. You can find me at melissafroehlich.com. That one is a little bit hard to spell. And same Melissa Froehlich Strategic Business Growth on Facebook. And I also have Instagram. I'm not great at that. It's one of my goals in 2020 is to be better, but also LinkedIn, pretty much anywhere. Facebook is where I hang out the most. So if you want to get an instant response, ping me there, and I'm happy to answer questions and connect you with people anytime that I can. So.
Yay. So great. Okay. You guys go check out her group. Check out our group too if you're new to our Baseside Chats and want to connect with other amazing rock stars like this girl right here. Again, thank you for being our 50th guest.
Yay, that's so fun. I know we needed confetti.
Okay, so I counted the other day. I had no idea. I was like, how many have we done? And we're at 47 episodes, and a couple of times I've had a couple of guests on. So you're my 50th guest. So thank you. I think it's a lovely way to wrap it up.
That's amazing. No kidding. That's incredible.
I know.
Thanks for all you do.
Thanks. Oh, yeah. So check out our YouTube channel. We have tons of these conversations. Some of them are, base specific if you're headed to an area. Some of them are topically oriented like this one. And again, we've done a few on remote work because that is what we get the most requests for. So we will keep them coming. Y'all stay tuned and let us know what you want to hear. So, okay. Melissa, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot. We'll see you guys in 2020. Bye.
Bye.